Okay.
I will introduce you briefly.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
so we are now welcoming Boris Veytsman. He's both a biologist and a physicist, a really creative scientist, but he's here for other skills as a graphic designer because he developed a class for a publishing company, and we'll tell more about that.
Yeah, thank you. So I would like to tell about some work I recently did for No Starch Press publishing company. How we move the slides? How? Which this one? Or maybe this one? Ah, now I got it. No, this laser. Oh, I got it. Okay, No Starch Publishing Company was established in San Francisco by Bill Pollock, a person with really great charisma and a lot of opinion. To understand what is this, I would suggest you to look at the About page on the website of the company, and it's basically a proud list of publishers which fired Bill Pollock previously. And he seems to be very proud of the fact that some really big companies would not work with him. He opened his own company which has the idea that this is the finest in geek entertainment, whatever this means. If you look at the publications of this company, you will see a lot of interesting things. There are something which you would see in a normal publishing company which publishes technical and computer literature, like a very good book about R or book about GIMP or TCP/IP guide. But you also would find something like biochemistry in manga style. You can find a lot of books about Lego, and basically the topics of the books and the way the books are done reflect what the company thinks is good for geeks or nerds, both as a work and entertainment. And it's very interesting, very nice. And I think it's some vestige of the old geek culture before a lot of geeks started to think about grabbing more money and getting millionaires and billionaires and so on. And this is what you would think about classical people who were maybe nerdy, but somehow very interesting. You might understand that people with this mindset have very strong opinion about the way books should be done, about typesetting, about artistic qualities, about design, and yes, this is the case. So my work was to help them to implement this design and their design features in LaTeX. I started working with them many years ago, at 2008, even before I came to California. It was in East Coast, and I tried to implement what they did in InDesign and other things. I was much younger, so I didn't implement a lot of things which is embarrassing because they should be implemented. And besides, they changed some things, and they never consulted me about the changes. And so at some point, they just added patches to the class file, they added patches to the other things. So at some point, it became even worse that my ICM art class, which I patched for 17 years, they patched for some smaller amount. So there was a need for some changes to make it better. One of the reasons why they needed this change was because of nice people from Overleaf here. Because one of the things about Overleaf was that a lot of people started to use it for making LaTeX files. A lot of people who would do word processors would say, okay, we have now version control, collaboration instrument, and so on for free or for reasonable pay. let's do it. And they found that they found at No Starch Press that they have a lot of submissions in LaTeX, and at some point they decided to hire me to update their class with the current situation. So I just wanted to say that, as usual, I'm very grateful for people from Overleaf. You really help a lot of us, and me including, to get some modest money for our efforts. I wanted to automate what they were doing. I wanted to automate it as much as possible, but I still did not want to, you know, you have 95% of effort in the last 5% of functionality, and I decided, okay, let's not do the last 5% functionality, let's put a lot of override features. Everything should work from the box, but if it does not, then they would be able to change it. So today we'll tell about a couple of tech-related challenges and solutions. The first thing is about URL splitting. There is a huge controversy whether you can split URLs on hyphen. And the reason is very simple. If you have URL split on hyphen, the question is it hyphen a sign of hyphenation, or is it part of URL? And obviously, we all know that no, URL's a special case. If you have hyphen in split URL, it's part of URL. But there are still some readers who don't know about this convention, and you are going to confuse them, even if, especially if they work with the hard copy, so they cannot just click on this. And people at No Starch Press have a very simple and I would say elegant solution of this problem. They say, yes, you can split on hyphenation, but only before the hyphenation. So, and if you see the hyphenation sign on the next line, you perfectly know that, okay, this is part of the URL. Actually, they have a lot. Actually, they have a lot of rules. They have some characters you must split, you can split after. There are some characters you can split before. There are some rules that you cannot split before slash. In particular, you cannot split colon slash slash. HTTPS colon slash slash should stay the same, and so on. By the way, they split, just an aside, they split before question mark and exclamation mark, and you might think that this is wrong, but it's not, because unfortunately, due to the strange syntax of URL, question mark, ampersand, and exclamation part in the URL scheme is the beginning of the group, but not the end of the group. So you should split before them. But this is okay. So I said, okay, let's use urls.sty, and let's look how it does URL splitting. And if you don't know, it's a funny thing that URLs from the point of view of urls.sty are math expressions. They basically map everything to map. And then how do you do splitting? Well, there are rules for splitting of mathematical formula. You just say that some sign is a binary relation or binary op. You can split after binary relation or binary op, and that's fine, everything works. Now, how do you split before something? Because in traditional math typesetting, by the way, this is Western typesetting. In Cyrillic typesetting, you split before some signs, but not in Western. How do you implement it automatically? And it turns out that it's easy to implement, because another feature of url.sty, they have this do specials command, and you basically can tell anything which should be done with your sign. So here is an example how I can split before dot. I just say the dot is not ordinary symbol, it's not bin or mat.rel, it's something special. And what is special? It means that before dot, I just add a penalty which corresponds to bin penalty, and then matchar 46 is actually dot. So the basically thing is that if you see in URL dot, you put a penalty, so you can split before it, and the dot itself. And the same goes with the rule that you cannot split, for example, before a dash. You delete all penalty before, you put very high penalty for splitting, and then you put dash. Everything works fine. Unfortunately, I have a problem which I cannot. Okay, I probably can solve, but I don't know why. It does not work. AMS-MAF redefines some cat codes for opening delimiters. It needs it for its own magic with delimiters. And somehow it clashes with the way I do it. So I found out that you have AMS-MAF and my changes, you have an error. So because some authors of No Starch use AMS-MAF, I no longer split before opening bracket. I really don't understand what happens. I did not spend a couple of days, I spent a couple of hours trying to understand what's going on. But as everybody knows, category codes and the magic of category codes is sometimes a black magic. So I still don't know what happens, why I have this strange error which when I try to redo this thing. Okay, next problem. Next problem is actually not about update, it's something I solved in 2008, and this is about chapter start. And chapter start in No Starch Press books is different from anything I have seen in mathematical books. It's very close to something you have seen in classical books. It's a first paragraph which starts with a font a little bit larger than the font of the body. It has this strange circular art. You put some circular thing here. Here I just put euro, not because they always do it. I wanted something round, for example. And because you put some circular art, you need to have a special shape of the paragraph. Fortunately, this is the situation where a classical LaTeX has hooks even before it works, even before the new hook mechanism is there, and you have nice hook in section which is called after heading. So what you do, you add to after heading. It's basically the same thing you do when you try to make the first paragraph not having indentation in the normal classes. You do some instructions to after heading about how to do it. And then you say that after you do it, in every par, you redefine every par, so you throw away my redefinitions. This is brittle. I hope that we probably have a better mechanism. Brittle is because if somebody else wants to redefine every par, they would be out of luck, or I will be out of luck, but at least for the controlled situation, it works. The last thing I wanted to tell you is something which I did not do many years ago, and people did this manually and very much pissed off, so it was incentive for me to do it, and now I did. If you look at the tables and figures in the No Starch books, you will see that they are interesting. First, they are not centered. They are flushed left. Second, the caption size is a variable. They want the caption to be exactly the same size as the table or figure. So if you have white, still less than the text width, but white figure, they want caption to be white. If it's narrow, they want it to be narrow. Of course, you need to understand that if it's very narrow, then you probably want to redefine it. So I wanted to do it, and the way to do it is this. The caption package, which in the workshop was criticized by Ulrika, but I still is one of my favorite packages, has a very nice way to typeset caption in the way you want. And one of the things you can do, you can say that you want to typeset caption in a box of the given width. Fine. So what you need to do, you just say that this width is variable, and before you start typesetting caption, you just measure the proper width. Fine. So how it works? With figures, it's very simple. It's a lot of tech code, as usually with boxes and last box and so on, but the idea is very simple. You have a figure, and probably it's some sort of a box. You take this box, measure its width, and this is the width you want to typeset caption. And you typeset caption exactly to this width. So what this chunk of code does is just this. Take the box, and before the strange way tech works, you need to take it and then return it back because it's not non-destroyable, because when you take it, you actually change something. And then you put it back and calculate the width, and that's fine. What you do with captions? You cannot do this with captions. And the reasons you cannot do this with, what you do with tables? You can do this with tables. And the reasons you cannot do this with tables is because tables in No Starch books, unlike the tables in Lampard and many LaTeX things, are typeset before the table. So when you typeset the caption, you don't know what the width of the table is because you did not typeset the caption yet. Well, we all know how to do it. You use the magic of auxiliary file. You measure at the end of the table, you measure its width, you put this width into auxiliary file, and when you typeset caption, you look at the file, auxiliary file, and if you know the width of the table, you typeset it there. So here is a code. This is a writing. It's a lot and a lot of code, but basically there are two things. First, you take the last box, measure its width, and second, you need to check whether you already have this width. And if you have this width, whether it's exactly same as in the previous run. If it's the same, fine. If not, it means that you need to tell LaTeX to rerun it and do it again. So you need to check and generate. And you need to create a unique macro. And the idea I actually stole from, of course, long table package. You need to have a unique macro, which is unique for this table, which keeps its width, and that's how you do it. This reading. Again, the same thing. You calculate the name of the macro where width is. You look whether this macro is defined when we have read auxiliary file. If it's defined, great. If not, we put some default value like the width of the page. Long tables. Because No Starch uses long tables, I need to do the same with long tables, but with long tables I have a better situation because long tables know their width. They actually put it in the auxiliary file. By different reasons, they want to know the width of each column to be able to make columns the same, but because they put it there, I can read it, I can check it, and I can put it there. Again, it's brittle because the day that long table code is changed, I'm out of luck, but so far so good it works. Yeah, I understand. Well, that's the way we used to do LaTeX in the old days. We always were relying on the kindness of the stranger offers of other packages. Okay, we need override because it's all good and fine, but what happens if you have very narrow figure? You will try to typeset caption to a very narrow thing. You can actually override it, and that's the way how you do it. You just put a command like next caption with something, and when this caption is there, you override caption for the next float. So basically, I want to say that there were some interesting challenges, And it's interesting that it's possible to do it, and it's possible to do whatever they did manually in InDesign or whatever they did with other things and do it automatically and faster. And the next thing what we want to do, they still want to do besides PDF, they want to do ebooks in the EPUB format. I completely agree with many of you that it's not a good idea, but they want to do it, so the next thing is to try to make EPUB work for them. Okay?
Thank you, Boris. Are there questions?
So in the part about URL splitting, you mentioned that you break after hashtag or after...
I think it's after hashtag. I need to look, but I think it's after hashtag.
But you mentioned that for question mark, for instance, you break before because it introduces a group in the
Yes.
URL. The same is about the hashtag because it's actually the section mark in the URL. So why after there and before question mark?
I probably would agree with you, but as I said, I worked with the house rules which were written by Bill Pollock, and I did not want to. So I basically, he said, do it after hash mark. Okay, let's do it after hash mark.
Do you maybe have an estimate for how much this whole project took? How much time?
Yes. You mean update? Okay, I would think that update was something like 3 or 4 hours of 3 or 4 of billable hours, and the initial design was many years ago, but I probably also something like 4 hours. So altogether, it's something like 8 hours of work. Approximately. I might be wrong, but that's what on the top of my mind.
Let's see. You asked what you can do about this every par thing.
Yes.
Perhaps better. I haven't checked, but I would say add to next hook,
Yes.
and then use the power hook that is available.
Yes, and this would be in only one paragraph, first one. Yes.
Yeah, that's for the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Then.
Again, this code was written in 2008. So,
Okay.
yeah.
The second thing, Ulrike just you said Ulrike doesn't like the caption package, and we
Yes,
said so in the
caption too.
You
I misunderstood, maybe.
I think you misunderstood something there. Caption packages is just fine.
Okay.
Nothing said yesterday, I think. And the third one, you showed this global set length or global set add to length. That actually doesn't work.
Which global set?
Oh well, two, 3 slides back. I don't know.
How do I back? Oh yeah.
Stop. One more, isn't it? Next one. No, in order of forward, not
Okay.
backwards.
This one or next one?
Forward. There's global set length on the top,
Yes.
and it doesn't do anything global.
Yeah. You are right. It just again it's a
not
bad
supported syntax, and if the calc package is loaded, which many packages do, you certainly don't get any global change. So just as a warning.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I probably need to delete global here. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So, 2 short remarks. The problem with the line break in URLs, I think it's not that hard because if you use a monospace font for a URL, I do it just to distinguish probably between a lowercase l and an uppercase I. then the dash is considerably longer than an ordinary hyphen in a text. So a careful reader could distinguish between these two.
Yeah.
And the other thing is more about the contents. The problem with long captions, I think, is basic in many cases is authors try to describe the contents of the picture in the caption, but it's hopeless. You should describe the contents in the text and not in the captions. The only thing that the caption should do is to distinguish the pictures in the list of figures, for instance.
Yeah, I completely agree, but two things. First, unfortunately, okay, I used monospace font in my example just to show example. In No Starch, they use italic, non-monospace, but body text italic for their URLs. Again, it's their solution. So, and second, I wouldn't say the captions are long. Usually they are quite short, but if your figure or table is narrow, then you cannot do it in one line anyway. Yeah.
Any other question?
Okay.
About the workflow between you and the publishing company, how did you communicate? Because they had quite unusual requirement, and you could have tried to explain them that.
Okay, good question. I always try to do my communications in writing. First, because it's much more efficient, and second, because at least I have a paper trail which I can say that I did this because you told me here is where, and believe me, it sometimes happens. Unfortunately, many companies, and this is one of them, install at least occasional meetings in Zoom, or something between them and me, and I think it's less efficient than writing, but they want it, fine with me. So, but it's interesting because the company is San Francisco. Before I moved to San Francisco, I never have been in their headquarters, and after I moved, I also never have been there. I'm not even sure that they have headquarters after COVID. Formal headquarters. So basically the answer is writing and Zoom.
Thank you again.
I think there is another. If you have time, I don't know.
Yes.
No, it's all right. The backslash round brackets, it's the AMS mass strut resetting. It's a mass jar def. I can take it offline if you want. The current mass code is saved in a mass jar def, which you can't do if it's active.
I'm not sure I can hear you well.
Sorry, the breaking before brackets with backslash, you got the error?
Yeah.
It's AMS mass saves the mass code in a mass jar def, which you can't do if it's hex 8000, if it's active. So you get the error you showed.
You mean the Vitruvian graphic?
What?
You mean the Vitruvian man?
You showed an error in AMS math.
Where?
We could take this off. That one. So that's in reset math strut, line 693 of AMS math style. Well, I've got it in.
So which is line number again? Which is line number again? Which is line number?
I'll take it.
Okay, yeah. Please do, because I have spent some time just, and I couldn't even charge them because I usually don't charge if I don't solve the problems.
Thank you again, Boris.